The last ship from Prime burned as it fell through space. Inside the observation deck of the Earth Defense Station, Commander watched the debris scatter across his screen. He had seen this before. 3 times in the past year, refugee ships had appeared at the edge of human space, broken and dying. This one carried only 15 survivors from a species that once numbered in the billions. Doctor stood beside him, her tablet showing medical scans of the aliens they had rescued. They were small, peaceful creatures with silver skin and large eyes. They had no weapons, no armies, no way to fight back. That made them perfect prey. "They're all dead now," said quietly. Her voice was steady but could see her hands shaking. "The finished them. 47 species in 300 years. They are just the latest." Stared at the screen. The Empire had turned genocide into sport. They were reptilian, massive creatures that stood over 8 feet tall. Their technology was centuries ahead of most known species. But what made them truly terrifying was their culture. They did not conquer worlds for resources or territory. They hunted entire species to extinction because they could, because it proved their strength. "The Galactic Council won't do anything," Captain Sung Park said from across the room. He was a veteran frigate commander, a man who had seen combat against pirates and raiders. But this was different. "They're too afraid. They have the strongest fleet in known space." Nodded slowly. The council was a joke. They held meetings and wrote declarations, but when they came, species died alone. No one helped. No one could help. "We received another transmission," Sung continued. He pulled up a holographic display. "This one is different. It is meant for us." The image flickered to life. A warrior filled the screen, its scaled face twisted in what might have been a smile. Its eyes were cold and yellow. When it spoke, the translator struggled to convey the contempt in its voice. "Humans of Earth, you have been designated. The hunt begins in your territory in 14 cycles. We have studied your species. You have no claws, weak bodies, and slow reflexes. Your technology is primitive. You will provide adequate sport before your extinction. Prepare yourselves." The transmission ended. The room fell silent, felt something cold settle in his stomach. In 2 weeks they would arrive. Earth would become a hunting ground. Broke the silence first. "We need to evacuate the outer colonies, get people to Earth and Mars, consolidate our defenses." "Against what?" Sung asked bitterly. "They destroyed species more advanced than us. They had energy shields and faster-than-light communication networks. They killed them in 6 months." Turned away from the screen. His mind was already working through scenarios, calculating odds, planning strategies. None of them looked good. They had superior firepower, better shields, and faster ships. In a direct confrontation, humanity would lose. But had not survived 15 years of military service by fighting fair. "Call an emergency meeting," he said. "I want every department head in the war room in 2 hours. Defense, intelligence, engineering, science. Everyone." "What are you planning?" asked. "I am planning to survive," replied. "They think we are prey. They think this will be easy. We need to make them think they are right, at least at first." Sung frowned. "You want to let them win." "I want to let them think they are winning," corrected. "They are hunters. They follow patterns. They have rituals and codes. We need to study how they hunt, and then we need to turn those patterns against them." Over the next 2 hours, personnel flooded into the command center, pulled up every record they had of attacks, worked with her team to analyze biology and psychology. Engineers began designing new weapons with the limited time they had. The war room filled with Earth's best and military officers in uniform, scientists in lab coats, politicians who had flown in from various world governments. Everyone knew what was coming. Stood at the head of the table. Behind him, screens showed the Empire's territory, a massive red stain spreading across the galaxy map. "We cannot beat them with strength," began. "They are stronger, they are faster, they have better technology. If we try to match them ship for ship, we lose." "Then what do we do?" asked General Borahan, commander of Earth's ground forces. She was a hard woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. "We do what humanity has always done," said. "We adapt, we improvise, we survive." He pulled up footage from the extinction. The fleet had appeared in their system and immediately targeted major population centers. They used EMP weapons to disable technology, then sent hunting parties to the surface. They herded populations into specific areas like game animals before closing in for the kill. "They do not want quick victories," added, standing to present her analysis. "They value the hunt itself. A species that dies too quickly is considered weak and unworthy. They will try to make this last months, possibly years." "That gives us time," said. "Time to learn, time to prepare, time to make them bleed." He looked around the room. These people had families, children, lives they wanted to live. They were going to try to take all of that away. "Here is what we know," continued. "They have never encountered a species like us. Every species they have hunted was either peaceful or fought with honor. We will do neither. We will hit them when they are not looking. We will poison their water and sabotage their ships. We will make them afraid to sleep at night." "Guerrilla warfare," Sung said, understanding dawning in his eyes. "Exactly," confirmed. "We cannot match their military might, but we can make them pay for every inch of ground. We make Earth too expensive, too costly, too dangerous. We make them regret ever choosing us as prey." A young officer raised her hand. "Commander, with respect, every species thinks they can resist. They have killed 47 civilizations. What makes us different?" Was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that would be remembered long after the war ended. "Because we are not like the other species. We are not stronger or smarter, but we are the most stubborn creatures in this galaxy. Humans do not know when to quit. We will fight them in the cities and in the forests. We will fight them in the oceans and in space. And when they think they have won, we will fight them still. They will learn what it means to hunt an animal that refuses to die." The room erupted in discussion. Plans were made. Resources were allocated. Earth began preparing for war. Outside, the stars looked peaceful, but knew that in 14 days death would arrive from the sky. They were coming. And humanity would be waiting. They arrived exactly on schedule. 14 days after their warning, 30 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. They were massive vessels, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their hulls were covered in dark scales, designed to look like the skin of their creators. They moved through space like predators circling prey. On the bridge of the lead warship, the Bloodied studied the blue planet ahead. He was a warlord among a hunter who had personally killed 3 species. His scales were from countless battles, and his claws were said to be unbreakable. Earth would be his greatest trophy. "They have gathered their population on the primary world," his second-in-command reported. "Minimal resistance in the outer colonies. This will be a short hunt." Clicked his jaws in satisfaction. "Begin the protocol, disable their communications first, blind them. Then we strike the population centers. I want them frightened and scattered." On Earth, alarms screamed across every continent. Stood in the command center, watching the fleet approach. His face was calm, but his heart pounded in his chest. "All personnel to battle stations," he ordered. "Initiate defense pattern Delta. Let them think they are winning." The first attack came without mercy. Electromagnetic pulse weapons fired from orbit, sweeping across North America, Europe, and Asia. Power grids collapsed. Cities went dark. Millions of people lost all communication with the outside world. Then the bombardment began. Sydney burned first. Kinetic weapons struck from orbit, vaporizing entire neighborhoods in seconds. The iconic harbor was reduced to a boiling crater. 20 million people died in the first hour. Lagos was next. Then, the targeted major cities, but they did not destroy them completely. That would end the hunt too quickly. Instead, they created chaos, forcing survivors to flee into the countryside. Pilot Lee scrambled his fighter squadron from a hidden airfield in South Korea. He was young, barely 25, but he had the fastest reflexes in the fleet. His modified fighter screamed into the sky, its engine pushed to maximum thrust. "This is Shadow Leader to all wings," transmitted. "Engage at will. Target not their capital ships. We cannot win against the big ones." They descended like falling stars. They carried hunting parties to the surface, teams of warriors ready to begin the chase, locked onto one and fired his missiles. The weapons struck the alien craft's shields and dissipated harmlessly. "Shields too strong," his wingman reported. "Missiles are useless." "Then we get creative," said. He pushed his fighter into a dive coming up directly beneath them. At point-blank range, he fired his into the ship's underside where the shields were weakest. The shuddered and began to smoke. "Aim for the soft spots. Make every shot count." Around the world, similar battles erupted. Earth's military was outmatched, but they were not surrendering. Every fighter pilot, every soldier, every person with a weapon fought back. In the Amazon rainforest, Colonel moved silently through the undergrowth. He led a special operations team, 12 of Earth's best soldiers. They had watched a hunting party land nearby. The aliens were tracking human refugees who had fled into the jungle. "Remember the plan," whispered into his comm. "We are not trying to win, we are teaching them fear." The hunting party consisted of 6 warriors. They moved through the forest with confidence, their sensors easily tracking the fleeing humans. They were looking forward to a good chase. They did not notice the pit traps until it was too late. The lead warrior fell through camouflaged ground, landing on sharpened stakes below. His roar of pain alerted the others, but by then's team had opened fire from concealed positions. They had personal shields, but had prepared for that. His team used armor-piercing rounds, firing in sustained bursts to overwhelm the shields. 2 more fell before the remaining 3 could locate their attackers. But when they charged towards position, they found it empty. The humans had already retreated deeper into the jungle, leaving behind proximity mines. The explosions tore through the remaining, killing one and badly wounding the others. "Watch from a distance as the survivors limped back to their..." "Good," he said quietly. "Now they know we bite back." Back in the command center, received reports from across the globe. The news was terrible. Over 50 million dead in the first week. Major cities destroyed or severely damaged. Entire regions without power or communications. But there was other news too. News that interested him more. "Commander, we have confirmed kills on 15 warriors," Captain Sung reported. "Our forces destroyed 3 and damaged 1 cruiser. We also captured equipment from the Amazon engagement." Allowed himself a small smile. "Get that equipment to Doctor immediately. I want to know everything about it." Was already working when the captured weapons arrived. She had set up a lab in a bunker beneath the command center. Her team of scientists worked around the clock, studying everything they could about the enemy. "These energy weapons are incredibly efficient," she told when he visited, "but they have a weakness. Look at this." She showed him a scan of a plasma rifle. They use biological power cells. The weapons actually feed off the user's metabolism. That means a warrior needs to eat constantly to maintain combat effectiveness. Leaned forward, suddenly interested. "How much food?" 3 times what a human needs," said. "And their supply ships only come once every 2 weeks, if we destroy their supply lines." "They starve," finished. He felt something shift in his mind. This was it. This was the weakness he had been looking for. "Can we track their supply ships?" "Already working on it," confirmed. "I have teams analyzing their communication frequencies." Over the next 2 weeks, they continued their hunt. They pushed survivors into designated areas, enjoying the chase. But something was wrong. Their hunting parties kept disappearing in forests and mountains. Ambushes claimed more warriors every day. Supply convoys were attacked by hidden forces. Was becoming frustrated. This species was supposed to be weak. They were not supposed to fight back so effectively. "Find me one of their leaders," he ordered. "I want to understand what I am hunting." Engineer worked in a hidden facility beneath Seoul. She was brilliant, a prodigy who had been designing experimental technology since she was 16. Now she was adapting that technology for war. "If we cannot match their shields, we go around them," she explained to her team. "I have been studying their sensor arrays. They look for energy signatures and mass. What if we use neither?" She had developed prototype stealth drones using radar-absorbent materials and cold propulsion systems. The drones were invisible to sensors, perfect for reconnaissance and targeted strikes. "Launch one," she ordered. "Let us see if it works." The drone slipped through orbit undetected, approaching a cruiser. It planted an explosive charge on the ship's fuel lines and retreated. When the charge detonated, the cruiser's engine section erupted in flames. The massive ship began tumbling through space, badly damaged. In the command center, watched the cruiser burn. It was humanity's first major victory. "Transmit this across all frequencies," he ordered. "Make sure they see it. I want them to know we can hurt them." The message was simple. It showed the burning cruiser and below it text in multiple languages including, "You came to hunt us. Now we hunt you." On the flagship received the message. For the first time in his long life he felt something unfamiliar. Not fear, not quite, but something close to it. These humans were not behaving like prey. He increased his attacks, sending more hunting parties to the surface. But more parties meant more losses. The humans were learning. They were adapting. Every day they became more dangerous. In Tokyo, Sergeant Jin led survivors through the ruined streets. He had lost his entire family in the first attacks. Now he fought with nothing to lose and everything to avenge. When a patrol cornered his group, Jin did not run. He detonated the building they were hiding in, collapsing it on the aliens. He and his people escaped through the sewers while they dug themselves out of rubble. The war was only beginning, but already something had changed. They had expected victims. Instead, they found fighters. Humanity was bleeding, but they were making the bleed too. And in the dark places of Earth, in the forests and mountains and ruins, humans were learning to hunt their hunters. 3 months into the war, the Empire began to notice something strange. Their hunting fleet at Earth had requested resupply twice more than any previous campaign. Casualty reports were higher than expected. Most disturbing, had not declared victory. On Earth, humanity had stopped retreating. Admiral Shin stood on the bridge of the rebuilt warship Defiance. She had lost her husband and 2 children when they attacked Seoul. The grief had nearly destroyed her. Instead, she turned it into cold, calculated rage. "Status report," she ordered. "All ships ready, Admiral," her tactical officer replied. "The supply convoy will enter range in 10 minutes. Had taken command of Earth's naval forces after the previous admiral died in the first week. Since then, she had overseen the construction of a new fleet, built from salvaged materials and reverse-engineered technology. The ships were smaller and weaker than vessels, but they had one advantage. They were designed by someone who knew she was outmatched and did not care. "Modifications are installed on all ships?" asked. "Yes, Admiral. Stealth systems operational." The supply convoy approached Mars orbit, confident and unguarded. Supply ships did not need heavy escorts. No species had ever been bold enough to attack them. Until now. Fleet appeared from behind Mars's moons, moving fast and low. The stealth systems had developed masked their approach until the last moment. By the time they detected them, it was too late. "All ships fire at will," commanded. And missiles struck the supply convoy from multiple angles. The ships were lightly armored, designed to carry food and equipment, not withstand battle. They broke apart under the assault, spilling their cargo into space. The escort ships tried to respond, but had planned for that. Her fleet scattered immediately after firing, using debris fields and Mars's gravity to avoid counterattack. Within minutes, they had disappeared again. The entire engagement lasted 7 minutes, 12 supply ships destroyed, the convoy's escorts damaged and confused. Most importantly, the fleet at Earth had just lost 2 months' worth of food and ammunition. In his flagship received the news with disbelief. They attacked a supply convoy. They ambushed us. Yes, Warlord, his second-in-command replied nervously. They are using tactics we have not seen before. His claws scraped against his command throne. Ambushes were dishonorable. Prey did not ambush hunters. This was wrong. This was not how hunts were supposed to proceed. Send a message to the Empire, he ordered. Request additional supplies and reinforcements. But the Empire's response was not what he expected. Request, the message stated. Your hunt has exceeded projected costs. You have lost more warriors in 3 months than most campaigns lose in a year. Finish quickly or return home. Stared at the message in shock. The Empire was abandoning him. Impossible. He was the bloodied. He had never failed a hunt. He looked at the planet below. That blue world was defying him. Those weak, clawless creatures were making him look foolish. We increase attacks, he decided. Bring all hunting parties together. We end this now. On Earth's surface, Colonel had become something of a legend. His Special Forces team had killed over 100 warriors using nothing but guerrilla tactics and improvised weapons. The aliens had started calling him the Ghost because he struck and vanished before they could respond. Now had a bigger mission. Intelligence suggested a mothership would land in the Pacific Northwest to establish a ground base. If they succeeded, they could coordinate their hunting parties more effectively. Had other plans. His team infiltrated the landing zone 3 days early. They were not there to fight. They were there to sabotage. Plant the virus here, instructed his tech specialist, pointing to a junction where the base's computer systems would connect. The virus was designed by Earth's best hackers, built specifically to target navigation and targeting systems. The mothership landed on schedule. Over 500 warriors disembarked, setting up operations. They had no idea that every computer system was already compromised. 3 days later, when they tried to coordinate an orbital bombardment, their targeting systems failed catastrophically. Weapons that were supposed to hit a human stronghold instead struck the base itself. The explosion could be seen from space. In a hidden bunker in Siberia, Scientist Park examined a captured warrior. The alien was sedated, restrained on a medical table, had been studying biology for 2 months, searching for any weakness they could exploit. Their enhanced metabolism is key to everything, she explained to via video link. They process energy so fast that they can run for days without rest, heal from injuries quickly, and maintain incredible strength. But it comes at a cost. What cost? Asked. They need massive caloric intake. If we cut off their food supply, they become weak within days. But there is more. Pulled up a biological scan. Their body temperature regulation is primitive. They are reptilian but modified. In extreme cold, their metabolism slows dramatically. They become sluggish, easy targets. Leaned forward. How cold? Below freezing. We have been trying to avoid winter battles, but maybe we should be seeking them out. Received this information with interest. They concentrated their forces in tropical and temperate zones. They avoided Canada, Siberia, Antarctica. Because they knew it would weaken them, Captain Sung added. Then that is where we make our stand, decided. Pull back our forces, lead them north, make them fight us in the cold. Over the next month, human forces executed a careful retreat. They abandoned the equatorial regions, pulling back to Canada, northern Europe, and Russia. The frustrated and hungry due to supply losses followed eagerly. They thought the humans were fleeing in panic. Sergeant Jin led refugees north through the ruins of Seattle. They were close behind, herding them like animals. Jin smiled grimly. The aliens did not realize they were being led into a trap. The first snow began to fall. Pilot Lee had become an ace, with 12 confirmed ship kills. But his greatest achievement came on a frozen battlefield in Alaska. Warriors had cornered a human settlement, preparing for the final assault. They did not notice the cold affecting them until it was too late. Fighter wings struck from the sky, targeting the sluggish aliens. Ground forces emerged from snow tunnels, firing at point-blank range. The slowed by the freezing temperatures could not respond fast enough. For the first time, humans won a ground battle decisively. News of the victory spread quickly. All across the northern territories, human forces began winning engagements. They were powerful, but the cold made them vulnerable. Watched his casualty reports climb. He had lost 800 warriors in the past week alone. The humans had stopped running. They had chosen their battlefield and turned it against him. "Retreat to the flagship," he ordered. "We bombard from orbit, no more ground operations." But Admiral was waiting. Her fleet had been reinforced with every ship Earth could build or salvage. When the fleet gathered for orbital bombardment, she struck with everything she had. The battle raged for 6 hours. Lost half her fleet, but they lost 3 capital ships and dozens of smaller vessels. More importantly, they lost their momentum. Sat in his damaged flagship staring at reports. His hunting fleet was crippled. His warriors were dying. The Empire refused to send help. And those humans, those weak, clawless, supposedly primitive humans, were hunting him now. For the first time in his life, understood fear. On Earth, received a message from the Galactic Council. They had been monitoring the conflict. "This is unprecedented," the message stated. "You have held off for 4 months. No species has lasted more than 6 months." Deleted the message without responding. He did not care what the council thought. He cared about finishing what they had started. "Prepare for counteroffensive," he ordered. "We have them wounded, now we go for the kill." Humanity had learned to survive the hunters. Now it was time to hunt them back. The turning point came on a cold morning in February. Admiral Shin stood before a holographic map showing the solar system. Red markers indicated positions. Blue markers showed human forces. For the first time since the war began, there was more blue than red. "They have pulled back to Mars," she reported to the Command Council. "Has consolidated his remaining forces around their forward base. He is defensive now, not hunting." Studied the map carefully. They had abandoned Earth entirely, retreating to regroup. It was an admission of failure, even if they would never say it aloud. "The Empire sent him a message," Captain Sung added. "Our intelligence intercepted it. They ordered him to return home. They consider Earth too costly." "And did he obey?" asked. "No," said quietly. "He refuses to leave. His honor will not allow it. They have never abandoned a hunt before completing it, would rather die than admit defeat." "Then we give him what he wants," said coldly. The War Council agreed. Operation was authorized. Humanity had spent 5 months learning everything about their weaknesses, their tactics, their psychology. Now it was time to use that knowledge. Colonel led the ground assault planning. His special forces had been studying base defenses for months. They knew every weak point, every blind spot in the sensor arrays. "We do not attack head-on," explained to his expanded team. He now commanded over 5,000 soldiers, all trained in his guerrilla methods. "We infiltrate first, plant virus in their systems, make them blind and deaf. Then we strike." Scientist Park had refined her virus over months of testing. It was specifically designed to target computer architecture. Once activated, it would shut down shields, weapons, and life support simultaneously. The virus needs to be uploaded directly to their central computer core, explained. That means someone needs to get inside their base. I volunteer, said a young soldier named Private One. He was barely 20 years old, but he had lost everything to the "I can get in." Looked at the boy for a long moment, then he nodded. You will not go alone. While planned the ground assault, Engineer prepared something special for the space battle. She had been working on a secret project, reverse engineering captured technology and combining it with human ingenuity. I call it the Hornet, she said, showing Admiral her creation. It was a small spacecraft, barely larger than a fighter, but it was packed with firepower. Stealth systems better than anything they have, weapons modified from their own designs, and one special feature. She activated a display. It can dock with ships undetected and cut through their hulls, perfect for boarding actions or planting explosives. Smiled, it was not a pleasant smile. How many can you build? I have 50 ready now. Give me 2 more weeks and I can have 200. You have 1 week, said. We attack Mars in 10 days. Pilot Lee was chosen to lead the Hornet squadron. He had proven himself in dozens of battles, and his reflexes were unmatched. Now he would train other pilots to use these new weapons. The Hornets are fast but fragile, he told his squadron. One hit from weapons and we are dead. We rely on stealth and speed. Get in, strike, get out. No heroics. But knew that in war, heroics were sometimes necessary. On Mars, prepared his defenses. His fleet was reduced to 18 ships, less than half what he started with. His warriors numbered fewer than 3,000. But he was not defeated. He refused to believe these humans could truly beat him. Let them come, he told his officers. We will show them what it means to face thee in open battle. No more ambushes, no more hiding. We fight with honor and prove our superiority. His second-in-command hesitated. Warlord, perhaps we should reconsider. The Empire has ordered. His claws were at his throat instantly. I do not care what the Empire orders. I am the bloodied. I do not flee from prey. The officer wisely said nothing more. On Earth, final preparations were made. Sergeant Jin led his battalion through final training. They would be part of the ground assault, landing on Mars after the defenses were weakened. We have all lost people to these monsters, Jin told his soldiers. Family, friends, homes. They thought they could hunt us to extinction. Today, we show them they were wrong. The soldiers cheered. They were ready. 10 days after the planning began, the human fleet departed Earth. Admiral commanded from the bridge of the Defiance, now fully repaired and upgraded with technology. Around her, over 60 warships and 300 smaller craft moved in formation. It was the largest military operation in human history. All ships maintain radio silence, ordered. We use stealth systems until we are in range. I want to surprise them. The fleet glided through space, invisible to sensors. Behind them, transport ships carried ground forces. Everything depended on perfect timing. On Mars, sensors suddenly detected an anomaly, then another, then hundreds. Impossible, he breathed. The human fleet had appeared from nothing, already in weapons range. All ships battle formation, he roared. Show these animals what. His words were cut off as Lee's Hornet squadron struck. The small ships appeared among the fleet like ghosts, too small and fast to target effectively. They attached to capital ships and began cutting through armor. Boarders, someone screamed. They are inside the ships. Chaos erupted. Warriors rushed to repel boarders only to find no one there. The Hornets had not deployed troops. They had deployed bombs. 3 capital ships exploded simultaneously. Return fire, ordered, but his weapons would not respond. Something was wrong with the targeting systems. On the surface of Mars, Private One and his infiltration team had succeeded. They had entered the base through a ventilation shaft and fought their way to the central computer. His virus was uploaded. One did not survive to see the results. A warrior found them during the escape, but his sacrifice ensured the virus spread through every system. Shields failed, weapons went offline, life support stuttered. Now ordered, all ships full assault. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Ships, suddenly vulnerable, began to burn. Admiral focused her attention on his flagship. That ship had to die. The battle raged for 3 hours. It was brutal and costly. Humanity lost 20 ships and thousands of lives, but the fleet was destroyed. Only his flagship remained, heavily damaged and drifting. Brought the Defiance alongside. "Prepare boarding teams," she ordered. "I want him taken alive." Colonel led the boarding action personally. His soldiers cut through the hull and stormed inside. They fought through corridors filled with desperate warriors, pushing toward the bridge. Waited for them, wounded but still dangerous. His claws had killed 3 soldiers before confronted him directly. "You have lost," said calmly, his weapon aimed at the warlord. "Surrender." Laughed a horrible sound. "Lost to prey, impossible." "Look around you," gestured at the burning ship, the dead warriors. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your army is defeated. You came to hunt us. Instead, we hunted you." Stared at the human. This small, weak creature had beaten him. The realization was devastating. "How?" he asked quietly. "We are stronger, faster, better." "You are better hunters," agreed. "But we are better survivors, that is the difference." Lowered his head. He understood now. The humans were not like other species. They did not fight with honor or ritual. They fought to win using any method necessary. They were not prey. They were predators. "You will kill me now," said. It was not a question. "No," his voice came over his communicator. "We need him alive. The galaxy needs to see what happens to those who hunt humanity." Was taken prisoner. His remaining warriors surrendered when they learned their leader had fallen. The Battle of Mars was over. Humanity had won. 6 months after the Battle of Mars, Commander stood before the Galactic Council for the first time. Representatives from hundreds of species watched as he entered the chamber. They had heard stories about humanity, about the species that had done the impossible and survived a hunt. The council chamber was ancient, built thousands of years before humans had left their planet. It was designed to intimidate, to make visitors feel small, felt nothing but contempt for it. "Commander of Earth," the council speaker announced, "you have been invited to address the council regarding the recent conflict." "Invited," repeated. He let the word hang in the air. "You invited me now, after the war is over. Where was this invitation when they arrived at Earth? Where was the council when 50 million of my people died in the first week?" The chamber fell silent. We could not interfere," the speaker said nervously. "They are too powerful. No species can stand against them." "Wrong," said flatly. "We stood against them, we beat them, and we did it without your help." He pulled up a holographic display. It showed Earth before the invasion, then after. Cities reduced to rubble, landscapes burned, the scars of war visible from space. "They have done this to 47 species," continued. 47 civilizations destroyed while you watched and did nothing. You hid behind diplomatic protocols and treaties, hoping they would never come for you. Well, we are done hiding." "What are you saying?" another council member asked. "I am saying that Earth is going after the Empire," declared. "Not to conquer, not to enslave, but to ensure they never hunt another species again." The chamber erupted in shock and protest. "Impossible," someone shouted. "The Empire spans 200 star systems." "And humanity is one planet," agreed. "But we learned something during our war. They are not invincible, they are predictable. They value honor over strategy, pride over adaptation. We know how to beat them now, and we will teach any species willing to learn." He looked around the chamber. "Any species that has suffered under any civilization that wants justice, you can join us. Together, we end this. Admiral Shin had been promoted to Supreme Fleet Commander. She now oversaw the construction of the Terran Retribution Fleet, a armada specifically designed to fight on their home territory. "We have 80 capital ships now," she reported to. "Crews from Earth and 17 other species. The survivors joined us. So did refugees from 6 other extinct species." "Good," said. "What is the status of our objective?" "We identified the primary military shipyard," Captain Sung said. He was now an admiral himself commanding a. "It is in the home system, heavily defended." "Then that is where we strike first," decided. Over the next year, humanity waged a calculated campaign against the Empire. They did not try to hold territory. Instead, they struck military targets with surgical precision, then disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. Colonel's special forces became legendary across the galaxy. They infiltrated worlds, sabotaged shipyards, and assassinated warlords. They had hunted other species for sport, now hunted the hunters. "Target acquired," whispered into his comm. He watched a warlord named through his scope. This creature had personally killed the last of the. Now he walked through his palace garden, thinking himself safe in the heart of the Empire. Pulled the trigger, the shot was perfect. Fell, and the galaxy learned that nowhere was safe for those who had participated in the hunts. Pilot Lee led strike missions deep into territory. His Hornet squadron had grown to over 500 ships, piloted by humans and aliens alike. They struck like lightning, destroying military installations and supply depots. "This is Shadow Leader to all wings," transmitted during a raid on an ammunition depot. "Primary targets eliminated, secondary targets in range, all ships weapons-free." The depot exploded in a chain reaction that could be seen from neighboring star systems. Doctor worked with alien scientists to study culture and psychology. Together, they developed psychological warfare tactics designed to break this will to fight. "They value strength and dominance," explained during a briefing. "Every time we beat them, it damages their sense of identity. We are not just defeating them militarily. We are destroying what they believe about themselves." Broadcasts were sent across territory, images of human victories, lists of dead warlords, maps showing how much territory they had lost. The message was clear: the great hunters were being hunted to extinction. Scientist Park developed new weapons using technology as a base. Humanity's ships were now faster and more deadly than they had been at the war's start. "We are not just fighting a war," said. "We are evolving. Every battle makes us stronger." Engineer built automated defense platforms that could be deployed to protect vulnerable species. Any civilization threatened by the could request human aid, and these platforms would be installed. "We cannot be everywhere," explained, "but our technology can be." The empire began to crumble. Warlords who had once hunted with impunity now hid in fortified bases. Species that had been prey for centuries watched in amazement as their tormentors fled from human forces. 2 years into the campaign, Sergeant Jin led the liberation of a game preserve, where captured aliens from dozens of species were held for sport hunting. Over 10,000 prisoners were freed. "You are safe now," Jin told them. "The hunters are finished." The government finally sued for peace. They sent ambassadors to meet with and the human command. "We surrender," the lead ambassador said. "We will cease all hunting activities. We ask only that you spare our people." Studied across the negotiating table. These creatures had killed millions of humans. They had destroyed 47 civilizations. Now they begged for mercy. "You will surrender all military vessels," stated his terms. "You will face trial at the Galactic Council for your crimes. Every warlord who participated in species hunts will be arrested and prosecuted. Your empire will pay reparations to surviving species, and you will live under human oversight for the next 50 years. That is acceptable, the ambassador agreed. What choice did they have? One more thing, added. You will help us identify any other species in the galaxy that practice extinction hunting. We will deal with them next. The ambassador's eyes widened in fear, but he nodded. 3 years after the first arrived at Earth, returned to the Galactic Council. The chamber was filled with representatives, all eager to hear his report. The Empire has surrendered, announced. Their military is dismantled. Their warlords are imprisoned. Species that they hunted are being compensated and protected. Applause filled the chamber, but raised his hand for silence. But this is not over, he continued. For 300 years you watched the commit genocide. You did nothing because you were afraid. Well, humanity is not afraid. We are establishing the Terran Protection Accord. Any species facing extinction for any reason can request human intervention. We will come, we will help, and we will make sure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else. Doctor joined him on the platform. We are also sharing our military technology with peaceful species, free of charge. You should never again be defenseless. The council speaker looked uncomfortable. This is very generous, but Earth is just one world. How can you possibly protect an entire galaxy? Admiral stepped forward. The same way we defeated with determination, ingenuity, and the refusal to accept defeat. We are humans. We do not know how to quit. Back on Earth, ceremonies were held to honor the fallen. Memorial walls listed the names of 50 million people who died in the war. Visited them often, reading the names, remembering the cost. Do you think we did the right thing? Captain Sung asked him once. Going after the instead of just rebuilding. Looked at the names on the wall. They died because a powerful species decided humans were acceptable prey. If we had stopped at victory, another species would eventually do the same. Maybe not to us, but to someone. We could not allow that. Sung nodded slowly. So we became guardians. No, corrected. We became hunters. We hunt those who hunt the innocent. That is Earth's role now. In the years that followed, humanity expanded into the stars. Not as conquerors, but as protectors. The Terran Protection Accord grew to include dozens of species. Earth's technology spread across the galaxy, making even weak civilizations capable of defending themselves. It became a cautionary tale. Children across hundreds of worlds learned about the species that thought themselves the galaxy's apex predators, only to discover that Earth had already claimed that title. The Bloodied lived out his days in a human prison. He spent his time writing about the war, trying to understand how he had lost. His writings became required reading at military academies across Earth. In his final days, requested to speak with. The old warlord was dying, his body finally failing after years of captivity. You changed the galaxy, said quietly. Before you, prey was prey. Hunters were hunters, but you made the prey into hunters. You made the weak into strong. We made victims into survivors, corrected. That is different. Laughed a wheezing sound. Is it? You hunt my people now. You hunt anyone who threatens others. You are the galaxy's apex predator. No, said firmly. We are the galaxy's protectors. There is a difference. Predators kill for sport or survival. We fight only when necessary, only to defend. Perhaps, agreed. But tell me, Commander, when you hunt those who threaten the weak, when you destroy empires that harm the innocent, do you not enjoy it, even a little? Was silent for a long moment. Maybe, he finally admitted, but we enjoy protecting more. Died that night. His last words were recorded. We hunted Earth because they looked weak. We learned too late that humanity is not weak. They are the species that survives everything. Never hunt humans. You will not win. A century later, Earth stood as one of the galaxy's great powers. Not through conquest or intimidation, but through the respect earned by those who stand between the innocent and the predators. And in the dark places of the galaxy, where species still thought to hunt and destroy others, a new fear had taken hold. Fear of the species from the blue planet, fear of the humans who refuse to die, fear of the protectors who hunt the hunters. The had wanted to hunt humanity to extinction. Instead, they taught humanity to hunt back. And the galaxy would never be the same.